Oh my. Good morning. Whoops. I pushed the button without realizing it. Maybe, like me, you heard the bird, and that's a bird I usually associate with being on the shore. So it's different. It's not what I expected, and it's throwing me for a bit of a loop, which is exactly what we're talking about today in Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. Welcome. Um, We've been exploring the idea of finding your path through the Bhagavad Gita, and I think this is important. What way of relating to this tome will support you best? And we're in chapter 11, the yoga of the divine form, we could call it. Ooh. We'll see how long we last today, and actually, this will play into everything as well. So, yesterday we talked about showing our true selves, letting our true selves be seen. And also, we have to be ready to see the truth of others. This is one of the biggest sticking points on the spiritual path. In the first 6 chapters, Arjun's like, what do I do? And Krishna says, here's what you do. And Arjun, a man of action, says, I can do that. And he does it. So he's feeling good. But now we get to this second third of the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna's more like talking about how to be. So, for many of us on the spiritual path, if we have tools and techniques, great. But once the real change starts to happen, oh my gosh, we're being different. And it's not just us that goes, I'm different, because we might go, yay, I'm different. But the people around us, when we start to change, may have a reaction we're not prepared for. For example, we start to change, and even though we've changed, people refuse to treat us in our new form and want us to go back to the old form. Why? Because that's what they understand, so they don't have to work hard to try to understand something new. And perhaps in the relationship previously, they developed ways to have some sort of power over you or to not fear you or to overcome their fear of change in themselves. All right. If you change, other people around you have to change to relate to you, and they may not want to do that. This is kind of what happens here in chapter 11. Krishna reveals to Arjun his true self. Arjun has said, I really want to see who you are at your divine core, Krishna. And Krishna says, here I am. And Arjun goes, oh my gosh. And here's where we get to in chapter 11 toward the end. Arjun has seen all these wonderful things that exist in Krishna and therefore in himself. And he says, stop it. Please stop it. And here, for many of us, will be a changing point in the Gita. This is in a different rhythm than we've usually chanted the other verses. Oh no, I got used to the other rhythm. What will I do? Well, I'll chant. You can listen. I'll be doing verses 11:48 through 50. Krishna will speak in the first two, and then Samjay, the narrator, will kick in and kind of say what the heck is going on from an outsider, a third person perspective, which is really important when working with change. Um, for example, when you go through a lot of spiritual trainings, you are cut off from the world. You go into a monastery, a cloister, an ashram, something like that, and you're you're limited in how you interact with the outer world. This is supposed to promote interchange, okay? Because if you've got the same things going on around you, it's easy to stay in the same patterns. But that outside perspective can be useful. For example, if you think to yourself, am I going through a spiritual practice or am I joining a cult? Is the change and control from within or being imposed upon me from without? So this is where that perspective can help. So here's Krishna, and I will chant it in this different meter. That's why if you have the book, it's in italics. Not by sacrifice, nor study, nor giving, nor by ritual, nor harsh self denial. Can I be seen like this in the world of men by any but you, O best of your people? So Krishna is saying, you don't have to do anything special to see me. You don't. Now that you've seen me, Krishna resumes, be neither fearful nor bewildered upon seeing such an awful form of mine as this. Dispel your fear, let your mind become cheerful. Again, behold this previous form of mine. Now, Sanjay, the observer, says, having thus spoken to Arjuna, Krishna once again revealed his own form with 4 arms, and the great souled one consoled his terrified friend again by putting on his human shape. Here we go. Krishna is very gentle. He reveals himself fully, and Arjun's like, ah! So Krishna dials it down a bit and still shows some of his divinity, and Arjun goes, ah! And Krishna takes it all the way back down to being human. This is something to really consider. We won't get past this big hurdle until we can stay with this vision of who we are, who the world is, who others are. We have to be able to stay with that divine vision longer and longer. And we have to be mindful of wanting to go back to the same thing. So, for example, weather. Here the tech is inside, I'm outside because the weather has been a little changeable this morning. And I often hear people say, when it's what they perceive as a nice day, if only it would be like this all year round. And then I think, do you really want that? This is our tendency. We want to have people the same all the time. We see them. We want to have situations the same. But if the weather were the same all year round where you are, what would that really mean? What would that mean? Think about that. We have to have that variability, and we have to be able to adapt. I think one of the great gifts of this practice is I am learning how to adapt to whatever. Shall we practice? Today's practice is dedicated to Deni. Happy birthday, Deni. Happy rebirthday, perhaps. Here we go. Switch. Shall we sit and contemplate? Today, I invite you to contemplate just your breath. If you observe your breath, you'll notice that it changes from moment to moment. And learning how to stay with it is key. Learning how to stay with any focus in meditation. Because as distractions happen around you, like Krishna changing form or the weather doing its thing, can you just come back to being present? Can you be present with it, or do you keep getting distracted? Let's find out. So, invite you to just, as we sit today, focus on your breath. Just focus on your breath. And if your mind wanders off to something else, bring it back. Be present. Be present with your breath and with life around you. How did it go? Do you notice any change in you from doing that practice? How do you feel about that change? Can you hold on to it? Or will you go back to being your regular self? Well, we'll see how things change between today and tomorrow. Oh, something that changed. I may not be here at this time in the morning, but I will post a link when I figure out where I am. So because of that, at the end of this video, I'll put a link to a different meditative practice if you'd like to try something that's a little longer. Until I see you again,